Okay, so ready to dive into some ISO goodness?
Always ready. Let's get practical, shall we?
Absolutely. We're taking a deep dive into Clause 9 of ISO IE 42001.2023 today, the one all about performance evaluation.
Yeah, this is where the rubber meets the road, putting those AI governance principles into action.
Exactly. We're going to walk you through it step by step.
Think of us like your instructors for the day, helping you really grasp what this clause means for managing AI responsibly.
So first things first, Clause 9.1, monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. A bit of a mouthful, but super important.
Yeah, you got to know what you're tracking and how you're measuring it. It's not just about saying, hey, we're doing AI ethically. You need proof.
Right, you need the receipts. So what exactly does this subclause tell us we need to do?
Well, it starts with figuring out what needs to be monitored and measured in your AI management system. Like, what are the vital signs?
So key indicators that tell you everything's running smoothly.
Exactly. What processes, what outcomes, what risks are most important to keep an eye on.
Okay, so that's the what. What about the how? How are we actually going to measure all this?
Right. So you got to choose the right methods, right?
Mm.
Automated data collection, surveys, specific tests, whatever fits the bill.
And I imagine the when matters too, right? How often are we doing all this monitoring and measuring?
Oh, absolutely. The frequency depends on what you're monitoring. Some things you might need to track continuously, others may be quarterly or triggered by certain events.
Like if you're deploying a new AI model, you probably want to kick off some specific measurements.
Exactly. The timing needs to align with the risks and the importance of what you're measuring.
Makes sense. But it's not just about collecting data, is it? We need to actually make sense of it all.
You got it. Clause 9.1 is very clear. You have to analyze and evaluate those results.
So what do those numbers actually mean?
Are you seeing positive trends? Are things slipping? Where are the red flags? That's where you gain real insights.
It's about using that information to truly understand how well your AI management system is performing, right?
Absolutely. And not just performing, but whether it's actually effective. Those are two different things.
Yeah, good point. Break that down for us. What's the difference between performance and effectiveness in this context?
Sure. Think of performance as the nuts and bolts. Say you have an AI fraud detection system. Performance might be its accuracy rate, how many shady transactions it catches.
Okay, so the hard numbers.
Right. But effectiveness is about the bigger picture. Is the system actually reducing fraud losses overall? Is it doing that without annoying legitimate customers?
Oh, I see. Performance is how well the AI itself is working. Effectiveness is how well the whole management system is achieving its goals.
Precisely. And to prove all this, you got to document everything.
Ah, yes, the paperwork. Can't escape it.
It's more than just paperwork, though. It's evidence. You're showing that you're serious about performance evaluation. It's a history. It allows for trend analysis, and it shows everyone inside and outside the organization that you're walking the walk.
Okay, I'm convinced. Documentation is key.
Good. Now let's move on to Clause 9.2, internal audit.
Internal audits, those can be a bit daunting, can't they?
They don't have to be. Think of them as a checkup for your AI management system.
A way to make sure everything's in tip-top shape.
Exactly. And there are two main things you're checking.
Okay, lay them on us.
First, you're checking if your system conforms to all the requirements. Your own internal requirements, policies, procedures, objectives, and of course the requirements of the ISO 42001 standard itself.
Right, so you're making sure you're following the rules of the game, both your own and the official ones.
Precisely. And the second check is to see if your AI management system is actually being implemented and maintained effectively in practice.
So it's not just a dusty document on a shelf somewhere. It's actually being used.
Right. You're looking beyond the paperwork to see how things are actually working on the ground. And the standard gets pretty specific about how you should be doing these audits.
Yeah, let's walk through those responsibilities.
Sure. So first off, you got to plan, establish, implement, and maintain an audit program.
So like a master plan for all your internal audit.
Right, a framework. You decide how often you'll audit different parts of the system, what methods you'll use, who's responsible, all those details.
That sounds like quite a bit of work to set up.
It is. It needs a real commitment from the organization. Then, for each individual audit, you need to define the specific objectives, criteria, and scope.
So basically, what are you trying to achieve with this specific audit?
Exactly. What standards are you auditing against, and which parts of the AI management system will this audit cover?
You might focus one audit on risk assessment and another on data management, for example.
Exactly. Each audit needs a clear purpose. Yeah. Then comes the tricky part. Selecting the auditors and actually conducting the audits.
Yeah. Who gets to be the judge?
Well, the standard is very clear. Objectivity and impartiality are key. Auditors should be free from any bias or conflicts of interest.
Right, you can't audit your own work. You need that fresh perspective.
Exactly. And once the audit's done, the organization needs to make sure the results get reported to the right people, the managers who can actually take action.
Closing the loop, right. So problems get identified, solutions get implemented.
Precisely. And of course, just like with monitoring and measurement, you got to document everything. Keep those records.
Evidence that you're doing what you're supposed to.
Yep. Now, on to the final part of Clause 9, management review.
Okay, so this is where the big bosses step in, right?
Right. Top management needs to review the entire AI management system at planned intervals.
Grand intervals, how often are we talking?
The standard doesn't give a specific frequency. It depends on the organization and its AI activities, maybe annually, maybe more often if things change rapidly. The key is that it's a regular, formal process.
And what exactly are they reviewing? What information are they looking at?
Well, first, they're checking up on the actions from previous reviews. Did we do what we said we would do?
Holding themselves accountable. Good.
Then, they're looking at any changes, both internal and external, that could affect the AI management system. New laws, new technologies, shifts in the market, anything relevant.
Keeping up with the times. Makes sense.
And they also need to consider how the needs and expectations of interested parties might have changed.
Interested parties, meaning?
Customers, regulators, employees, partners, even the broader community. Everyone who has a stake in how you're using AI.
So it's about staying aligned with the values and expectations of those you impact.
Exactly. Then they dive into the data. They look at the AI management system's performance, all those trends and results we talked about earlier.
From the monitoring and measurement and the internal audits.
Exactly. They're getting a full picture of how things are going.
And then, on top of all that, they're also looking for opportunities for improvement.
Absolutely. They're not just looking for problems. They're actively trying to make things better.
So after all that reviewing, what happens? What are they supposed to do with all this information?
Well, they need to make decisions, primarily about continual improvement and any changes needed in the AI management system.
So it's a crucial point for steering the direction of the AI management system.
Exactly. And of course, you know the drill. Document everything.
Always document. So to sum up Clause 9, we've got monitoring and measurement, internal audits, and management review, all working together to ensure that the AI management system is on track.
It's a cycle, a continuous process of checking, analyzing, and improving.
It's not just a box to tick. It's how you build a truly robust and responsible AI management system.
It's about walking the walk. And it's really valuable, not just for AI, but for any complex system. Think about it. Setting objectives, monitoring performance, checking in regularly, making adjustments. These principles can be applied to anything.
So listeners, think about how you could use this structured approach in your own work or even your personal life.
How could you implement these kinds of checks and balances to make sure you're continuously learning and growing?
It's a framework for success, no matter what you're trying to achieve.
Food for thought.
Definitely. And that's a wrap for this deep dive.
Until next time.